This is from Donald J. Trump, and it's from a few years ago. We probably watched it already, but I wanted to go through it again. So I'll let the man speak, and then we'll go through it.
Well, I have to say, I think it's very sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries, and then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia, where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia.
Okay, hold on, Trump. I mean, who should they have made a pipeline deal with? The moon? You do understand that Germany is in close proximity to Russia, and Russia has they got stuff to sell, right? You, the Mr. Genius businessman, you do understand geography, yeah? I get what he's hinting at. He's basically saying, like, you're trying to, you want us to protect you from the Russians, but you're also buying from them at the same time. Yeah, okay, that's quite the contradiction. But here's the thing. Germany doesn't need protection from the Russians. You know why? Because we are in the 21st century. The Cold War is over. There are no Soviets anymore. Why does NATO even exist? I thought NATO was created to fight the Soviets, to contain communism in Europe, right? What communism? What Soviet Union? It's gone. It's gone. There, not for 1 minute in my life has there been a Soviet Union. None. So what is this imaginary monster that you were talking about? I thought NATO was against the Soviet Union, not Russians.
So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate. And the former chancellor...
Yeah, it is. But I got good news for you, Trump. There is no Soviet Union anymore, so you can go home.
Chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas. Ultimately, Germany will have almost 70% of their country controlled by Russia with natural gas. So you tell me, is that appropriate? I mean, I've been complaining about this from the time I got in. It should have never been allowed to have happened. But Germany is totally controlled by Russia because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline. And you tell me if that's appropriate.
Germany is totally controlled by Russia. I mean, I get what he's saying, maybe from his point, like from the Washington D.C. point of view, that Germany is controlled by Russia. Let me tell you the independent and unbiased point of view. Let's talk about troops. How many U.S. troops, or rather, how many Russian troops do you have in Germany? Zero. The Cold War is gone. It's over. Any Soviet troops? No. Any Russian troops? No. How many American troops do you have? How many American troops do you think there are in Germany right now in 2023? The real number is close to 30 and 35,000. The funny thing is, Donald Trump, you remember his punishment, his punishment to Germany because they wouldn't commit 2% of their GDP, of their gross domestic product, to NATO contribution, rather to their military as a NATO contribution, right? His punishment was that he pulled 7,000 American troops from Germany. Oh, no. Oh, my God. Jesus. I mean, talk about doing somebody a favor, you know? I know Germans maybe don't understand this. Although, I mean, they would know all about occupying and invading, so maybe they'll, this will get through. But you do realize that Germany it's a U.S., it's a U.S. colony. I mean, if I had 30,000 troops somewhere, Jesus, the Romans, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think at any point in history, the highest number of Roman troops in Britain used to be, under Roman control, is 30,000. And it's funny actually because back then you had multiple generals. It's happened at least twice. You had Roman generals like getting all of these troops in Britain and then putting them in boats and going to invade Rome, like in a coup. Oh, it's so funny. I find that so hilarious. It's really, really funny. Anyway, going back to my original point, Donald Trump is maybe, if we were in the Cold War, what he's saying would make a little bit more sense, although I'm being very generous to Mr. Trump and any of the people at his table for that matter. God, look at Pompeo next to him. Ugh. But there is, I don't understand. He's speaking from a Cold War point of view. Look, I know the Russians, quote, the Russians, you can say that about the Soviets. Yes, that's what was used to refer to them, even in the Cold War. But there is no more threat or perceived threat, right? And again, if we were in the 1960s, we'd be having a different conversation. We're not in the 1960s, thank God. Actually, I don't know, because now the nuclear threat is worse. But there is no threat. Furthermore, Germany and Russia, these two countries that Donald Trump is so concerned about, oh my God. Germany and Russia have slaughtered each other quite a bit, right? And obviously this is Germany's fault, like everything else in the world. No, but the Germans killed 27 million Russians. The Russians suffered more than any country in World War II, period. 27 million Soviets in totals, right? That's civilians and it's about 50-50, right? Civilians and soldiers. I mean, that's an astronomical figure. The British and American casualties pale in comparison. So I can't even begin to grasp what that's like. But I want to tell you that how do you rebuild trust and you rebuild relations between countries like Germany and Russia that have killed so many of each other's citizens? The way you do this, this is one of the ideas that has been floated and sold, right? Or proposed, is that you get these two countries to invest in each other's industry and economies, and then they won't have a reason. There will be no reason for them to go to war with each other, right? This is the EU, again, is a neoliberal disaster, but, some of the thinking, one of the only good things you could say about it is that, oh my God, this continent, this European continent where they've been bombing the shit out of each other and murdering each other for thousands of years, finally, they're not doing that anymore. Why? Because now they have trade, they have a common currency, there's the free movement of goods and people and so on and so on. And the idea, going back to this idea of peace, right? How do you have sustainable peace? Is that you invest in each other's industries, right? That's the proposed idea. Shut up, Trump. So my point here is that any potential progress, any potential rebuilding between Russia and Germany that could have occurred as a result of Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 and all of this investment that's going both ways is now, it's all out the window. It's gone down the drain into the toilet because of people like Trump, because of people like Biden, because of these goddamn festering neoconservative bastards. I'm trying so hard to censor myself, and I should not do that. Screw them. Because once again, they have fermented this anti-Russian sentiment in Europe once again. It's like back to Cold War levels and probably worse. For no reason. There is no Russian threat. The only threat here is NATO. Okay, NATO has no reason to exist, and he's whining. Look what the NATO flags. He's whining about Germany not contributing enough of its GDP to its military, right? Because Germany was supposed to be neutered. This guy doesn't make any sense. You have 30,000 troops, U.S. troops in Germany to cut Germany's balls off. That's the idea. Carve Germany up. As George Galloway said when I was on his show, we should have never allowed Germany to reunite. We should have carved it up into 4 or 5 pieces and left it that way, right? You cut Germany's balls off so they can't rearm, and that's why you have 30,000 troops there, right? That's the thinking. And yet you want Germany to rearm, and you have let Germany rearm, and Germany has rearmed, and Germany is now sending German tanks once again to kill Russians once again in Ukraine. Oh my God. Talk about contradictions. Talk about contradictions, man. What is going on here? What is going on? You're supposed to make sure Germany never rearms, right? I mean, not Donald Trump, Jesus, but we, the West, we're supposed to make sure Donald Trump does not rearm. That Russia and Germany don't fight, and that Germany, especially after what happened in World War I and World War II, is not allowed to rearm under any circumstances whatsoever. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons that the Soviets wanted to stay in Germany after the Nazis were crushed is precisely because of this reason. Stalin, he wanted to make sure that Germany never rebuilds as anything. not an army, not a country, nothing. Because of, as I mentioned, 27 million Russians or Soviets killed. Right? That was the Russian point of view. It's like, screw you, we are not leaving, because when we leave, you rearm. And you know, the funny thing is that he was right, actually. The Soviets, they were right. As soon as they left, what happened? NATO is expanding, Germany is rearming, and now we have war again with the Russians. Jesus Christ. You know, I really, the Soviet diplomats who agreed to 2+4, no, rather, who agreed to German reunification during 2+4, they must be hitting themselves over the head, right? They actually believed that NATO would not expand, and they were dumb enough and naive enough not to put it in writing. I mean, come on, guys, let's be honest with each other. Do you think if they had put it in writing that they would actually apply it? No. Doesn't matter what you put in writing. You could put their goddamn blood on the paper. They wouldn't give a crap, right? There's no amount of guarantees or trust that you can earn from our lying diplomats, unfortunately. So, I mean, okay, there's 20 seconds left here for Trump to speak. I don't really know what he's going to vent at here, but
I think it's not, and I think it's a very bad thing for NATO, and I don't think it should have happened. Now, if you look at it, Germany is a captive of Russia because they got rid of their coal plants, they got rid of their nuclear. They're getting so much of the oil and gas from Russia. I think it's something that NATO has to look at. I think it's very inappropriate. You and I agree that it's inappropriate.
To be honest, Donald Trump is inappropriate. But listen, it's funny, he mentioned the coal mines and the nuclear. Well, I think they closed the nuclear, the last nuclear site, I think a few months ago, right? Like they were, it's funny because their goal was to close it now. And then they said, oh, well, crap, because we can't buy Russian oil and gas anymore. Let's actually go ahead and reopen it after decades of saying we have to close it. But they actually went, in the end, the Germans closed it. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I was following that and they closed it. When it comes to the coal mines, though, they were saying like, okay, well, we have to go back to coal. And my point here is still the same. It's that, regardless, you had these countries, European countries, pretending, oh, we can't use nuclear because it's dangerous, even though the surrounding countries are using it. So I don't, it doesn't really mitigate the risk factor. Just if you're a European country and you decide not to use nuclear, your neighbors do. So, I mean, in terms of risk, it's not really mitigated. Anyway, my point here is that these countries that are saying, oh, we have to close this and that, nuclear and coal, and we have to switch to green energy, they threw this out of the window. They dropped it like a hot potato just to go to war with the Russians, right? Like, no. We'll go back to coal. We'll go back to nuclear. Fuck the Russians. Screw Russia to hell. Screw Putin, right? Actually, you screwed yourselves, right? You shot yourselves in the foot. Rather, you shot your own people in the foot, right? Because these people like Stoltenberg, and I mean, he's NATO, but, Ursula von der Leyen, and Schultz and all these people, they don't pay crap. They don't pay for anything. Their things are paid for, right? They don't pay for any of their expenses. The MPs in England or Rishi Sunak, they are the ones who are taken care of by the public. The people's taxes pay for their shit, right? And it's funny because you got these MPs, in England who they want to go to war with Russia at all costs, And they're fine with people's gas bills and energy bills going through the roof. And then they go and claim expenses. You know what that means? That means that members of parliament, when they claim these expenses, it basically means that they want the public to pay with their taxes for their expenses, whether it's travel, it's their heating, their energy bills. Funny how that works, right? Like they're more than happy to make everyone in England pay these exorbitant amounts every month for their energy bills, but then when it comes to their bills, oh, they don't mind that it's through the roof because the public will pay for them. Funny how that works, right? Why don't they pay for everybody's bills? Why don't they pay the overhead and the increase in percentage? Why don't they do that, huh? Since they're so hungry. And the same goes for everyone in France and everyone in Germany and all of these countries, right, that are so hungry to put sanctions on Russia. Let them pay for the overhead. Let them pay for the increase in price, right? Since they're the ones who want these sanctions, you fucking pay for it. You pay for people's energy bills. Go ahead, right? Since you're the one insisting on it, do it. No. They get their stuff paid for. Funny, these people, right? And Donald Trump can go to hell, honestly. And all these people in Washington, they're such hypocrites. If this guy's mad at them for buying cheap gas, he would do the same thing, and he would find a reason to do it as well, right? Because I'm a businessman. I know all about business. Everybody knows. Remember the time these people, they have no clue about business whatsoever. Before I came into Washington, God, what a character. He's really a character, this guy. Anyway, we're done.